Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or older in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard. Funny, whichever.
Either way. Welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's February 4th, 2025, and this is episode 103. 103. So anyway.
103, the big sound on the radio.
Q103. We like to kick off each show with this new segment called
It's Time for Stupid Holidays of the Week.
And that's us. Stupid, no, not stupid presenters of the week. Stupid holidays. Today, February 4th.
Well, that too, but
it all works. Today is National Thank Your Mailman Day, and if you've got a mail lady, I suppose it crosses over.
I thank mine at Christmas time.
Yep.
I put a gift card in the mailbox for them.
Yep, we go buy Amazon gift cards, and we have our trash people, and we have our mailman. Who else? Oh, our bug guy that comes every quarter. We give him one. He's a good kid. He just got married, and he's starting a life. So yeah, but he's fantastic. He's always got a great attitude, and you got to love it. If I was a bug guy, I would not have a great attitude. But anyway, we've only had mail ladies at our house for the last 20 years. So, but anyway, I think that's
the best one we had was a mail lady, and then the route, she changed routes, and then we don't have anybody for this route, so whoever was available would run it. One gal, when she would run it, we wouldn't get our mail till 5:30, 5:45 at night. It's like, okay. They finally gave it to a guy on a regular basis, and now he's back to like the one gal was. He's here pretty much within a half hour of 9:30 every day.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Ours is normally around lunchtime, but it's like we will get mail for 2 or 3 days, and all of a sudden we'll have a mailbox full. So I kind of like, if I could raise one eyebrow, that's what I'd do right now.
You mean like that?
Yes, like that.
We are on, they have to drive a little over a quarter mile from a road they come out on, come down to our mailbox because there isn't any more after us, and then they have to do a U-E and go back the other way. So we're kind of out of the way. If there's not anything, or it's just
junk.
Garbage mail, if you will. They go, give it to them tomorrow.
Exactly. If they were trying to sell me on a Mississippi River cruise, just keep it. I get those.
Hold it a day or two. It's fine.
I get those once a week. What the heck is that? Anyway, yesterday was National Carrot Cake Day. So, do you like carrot cake?
It's okay. Cake. Period. Not a fan.
Really?
Cheesecake, if it's raspberry flavored or something along that line, maybe. Yeah. But cake. The wife is really upset because sometimes I have to go buy her for her birthday her own little small birthday cake. I really just don't care for it.
I like chocolate and I like red velvet. And other than that, I mean, it's like keep your. I still, as far as carrot cake goes, I don't think the vegetables ought to be desserts. It just seems I'm dying on that hill. I don't think that it just doesn't seem right. Anyway, speaking of desserts, Thursday is going to be National Frozen Yogurt Day and National Chocolate Fondue Day. I like frozen yogurt and chocolate fondue. I just don't like moving desserts. I mean, maybe I'm too picky. I think it moves too much. Give me a strawberry.
You have a lot of restrictions in your diet based upon no, and here's why.
I've got a handful of fetishes. But yeah,
not it tastes bad or anything like that. Nope, shouldn't put vegetables in cake, and I don't like moving.
But, and I heard somebody complaining about this the other day, and it was a comedian talking about food should not be touching each other on their plate. And it's like, you're either one of, but for me, I don't care. You can mix them all together. That has not bothered me. But I just don't want to take my strawberry and try to dip it underneath the chocolate as it's flowing through some kind of, I just think that just seems unduly messy and unnecessary. But Whatever. And thank goodness we have a day set aside for a person who is wrong upwards of 70% of the time, seemingly. Tomorrow is National Weather Person Day. Of course, it's not Weatherman Day, it's Weather Person Day. They're wrong a lot.
And now they're wrong because they don't know when the government is making the weather.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Is it going to be cloud seeding this week?
We get it all the time anymore. Didn't used to, but it's like, I can understand seeding some clouds. It looks like there might be a drought. We need to get more snow on the hills, blah, blah, blah. I kind of get that a little bit, but when it's a beautiful blue sky and there's nothing there, why are you spraying stuff?
What are you seeding? But they've been doing that since the 40s. I read that the other day. I can't believe it's been that long. Incredible. And to round out our week, Sunday is National Toothache Day, probably because of all the desserts we just talked about this week. So anyway, that's the stupid holidays of the week. DOGE.
Oh, yes, please.
I love my DOGE. We got to come up with a sounder for DOGE. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, has already found lots of things to cut. But one thing reminded me of the Reagan years. Remember the Reagan years where they had the $800 toilet seats and the $500 hammers? There was a big, I think it was 60 Minutes that did an in-depth thing on that. So anyway, DOGE has found a $600 million per year line item at the Pentagon that they needed to eliminate. It was sushi.
Yeah. And worse than that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I don't eat bait. So don't care for it at all. Neither does the wife. We just don't eat bait.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Oh, was the IRS spent... This is the part that just cracks me up. $1.2 million on cinnamon flavored K-Cups, but everybody was working from home.
Yeah. The stat I saw was $230,000 a month. So
yes, which is in a year's time,
$1.5 million. Yeah,
it's $1.2 million a year on K-Cups for coffee. Oh, there's one worse than that. What was it? It was, I think, again, in the Pentagon stuff. I'm trying to remember what department where that was, but it was paper cups.
Yeah.
Paper cups. Yeah. Do you have that one?
I do. The Air Force was spending $1,280 a month on paper coffee cups. Now, at least the Air Force was showing up to work. The IRS, like you said, they're all working from home.
How did who's using that much? Good Lord, that's a lot of K-Cups.
Is this some kind of funding help that Starbucks needed? I mean, because nobody's drinking coffee in San Francisco. I have no idea what's going on there.
Well, what I read on the paper cups was it was $1,200 each.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Maybe that. Yeah. I think I have that written down wrong.
Per each freaking paper cup.
Yeah. And they had a total for that for the month, and I forgot what it was, but it ended up being outrageous. $1,280 for one cup.
Yes. The paper cup with the little, and maybe the sleeves were extra. You got to pay extra.
You can't tell me that whoever's running the budget over there at the Air Force, which I used to work for, it was very different back then, but somebody's getting a kickback somewhere along the line. There's no way that somebody saw that and said, yeah, that sounds reasonable. I mean, do they open up bidding for those kind of jobs to supply paper cups? I mean,
it's like, hey, if you pay this much, I'm going to give you this much back. A little rebate for your help.
A little washing my back, washing yours.
That's ridiculous.
Incredible.
Anyway.
Yeah. So hopefully, as far as the Air Force goes and the Pentagon goes, hopefully Pete Hegseth has a grip on some of this and gets rid of, oh my gosh. He'll work hand in hand with Elon pretty well over at DOGE. So anyway, the Party of 72 Genders. And if you don't play along with the 72 genders, you're a Nazi, of course. You know what party I'm talking about, I think. They met to elect a new chair of the party when inevitably someone got to the podium and said this.
Rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, The non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair race. We have to elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. To ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules. To do this, our process will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier this week, but I hope you will see that in practice it is simple and transparent. The order of balloting is designed to ensure equal access to the ballot, regardless of gender identity. As we must elect a candidate of any gender as well as 1 male and 1 female vice chair, we will first ask members to elect a candidate of any gender on the first ballot. Any candidate, male, female, and non-binary, can be elected on that ballot. After a candidate is elected on the first ballot, we'll have 1 officer of the 3. So then we will know which position is filled of the 1 male, 1 female, and 1 vice chair of any gender.
Well, that is absolutely clear as mud. No,
I went, how long are these rules to vote for what you need? Good Lord. He couldn't even read the rules right.
I was thinking that.
Reading them and he had trouble.
Who in the world brought this guy in and say, you know what, stand up there and read. You're good at this. It's like, but I mean, these. Wait
a minute. So 2 male and 2 female didn't cut it. And personally, I'm rather shocked that he knew what a female was.
Oh, yeah. But one male, 1 female, and 1 of any gender. Does that mean any of the 70? This is DEI run amok. I mean, seriously.
And they wonder why they're having so much trouble and why 87 counties in this country voted for Republican were all red. There was just your pockets of blue, the little sliver going down the West Coast and of your normal places back east. And some of them weren't normal. They were all red. Right. New York is virtually all red except for around New York City.
Yeah, except for the 4 boroughs in New York City. I think it's Staten Island's always been kind of red, but yeah, everything else has been blue. But you know, it's like and we'll talk about this a little while later. Even in Europe, they're starting to see this wokeism is just such stupid. It's just stupid. I mean,
it's 1 to less than 1% of the population that you're making all these special rules for is this tiny little group. You know what? If that's what you want to do, good for you. Yeah. No,
just because
you don't get special rules.
Yeah,
no,
just because they're loud and they're obnoxious and they get a lot of attention doesn't mean we need to listen to them. So anyway, I think that our government is starting to wake up to this, and we'll talk about later. Italy, Argentina, and of course, Hungary has been non-woke for a long time.
Right. We like him.
Viktor Orban. I was telling somebody about him the other day. It's like, oh man.
Victor's a crack up. He just basically, it's what you want. This is what we're doing. No, we're not doing that.
And like we talked to Mike Mendoza a couple of weeks ago, it's like, the UK is really starting to turn around too. And so anyway, we'll talk about that here in a little while.
They've got some new rules coming out though, and that they're trying to institute in Great Britain.
In the UK, really? No, I hadn't
yes,
heard about that.
They're trying to. You have so many credits for eating certain foods will lower the amount of CO2 credits. So that's out there. If you fly from London to New York, that's 80 credits. That's going to take you several months to pay off, or you can just pay the bill.
Oh, for goodness sake.
It's just absolutely.
There's no way did that pass? Is that
no, but they're talking about it. Yeah, no, that's somebody's trying to propose it.
Eventually, if you eat too many refried beans. They're gonna charge you for the emissions you have.
And most cows don't fart; they burp. So give me a break.
I want to put these people with just in a garage, closed garage with a cow or a car, and anyway, we'll just see how that goes. Anyway, when we come back, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Caroline Leavitt, the new White House press secretary, and how wonderful she is, and how much she brings delight to my heart. So
she is just a breath of fresh air.
She really is. So hang in there. We will be right back.
The Stay Off My Lawn podcast will be right back.
Having a rough day? Do you find yourself acting irrationally? Do you get mistaken as a hyena when you laugh? Or do word salads occur frequently? Now there's help. Introducing Trumpanol. Trumpanol is designed specifically for those suffering with Trump derangement syndrome. Don't allow TDS to control your life anymore. Trumpanol is fast-acting, delivering relief from the stress of campaign season. Side effects may include registering as a Republican or voting for Donald Trump. Consult with your doctor before taking Trumpanol.
And we're live on the air.
I guess. I'm taking my pulse now. Yes, I'm live on the air. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Live from beautiful downtown.
Can we try to have fun? I mean, we're being way too serious here. Caroline Leavitt. I mean, we're talking about such an upgrade from the last DEI hire. You could see her as a DEI hire. She is a female, so and she does believe in male and female. So I like that about her. But she's as good so far, if not better, than Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Kayleigh McEnany. And oh my gosh, that's just recent history. I think that since they've come over to just females do it, we haven't had a male since George Bush, right? George W. Bush. That was
it's been a while. I can't think how far back it has been.
Yeah, I can't even remember his name, but he's a conservative pundit now. But anyway, here she is after one of our legacy media outlets asked her if they were out of touch, and this is what she had to say.
Media out of touch? I think that media certainly is out of touch, and I think that's proven by a number of things, John. Number one, there was a New York Times poll that was released prior to President Trump's inauguration by the New York Times, which of course is a legacy media outlet, that showed that 83% of Americans support deporting the individuals that you mentioned, illegal immigrant criminals, especially those who have committed heinous crimes in the interior of our country. And I received a very actually interesting statistic on this front from ICE this week. 97% of the deportations that this administration has made thus far are of individuals who had a removal order from the previous administration, but were never removed from the interior of our country. So this shows that the previous administration was actually defying our laws, and all this administration is doing is simply following the laws, the immigration laws of this great country.
Upholding them. Never opened a binder. If you saw the video, she just has these stats in her head.
She hardly. I saw her came out to one briefing and she had like 4 pieces of paper.
Yeah,
and she split them up into 2 different sides on stuff. And then she hardly ever looked at those.
Exactly, because she knows her stuff. We're so used to seeing whoever's up there opening a binder and going, "Well, let me look here.
Let's see. Let me flip that. What do we got going here? Let's see. I can't. Oh wait, it's not. Oh well, no, I don't have the. Oh well, let me see if I've got that tab. Good Lord.
Yeah, this is a difference between somebody who's done their homework and knows the issues. And, she came up with that stat from the last administration just off the top of her head. I don't think she was even prepared to talk about that, seemingly, but she was. So.
Oh, she had an incident, I believe it was yesterday, where she was talking to the press briefly outside. I don't know the reason for them being outside or why she was speaking, but she had the list of some of the stuff we talked about earlier with DOGE.
Yeah.
what they were doing. And she goes, and frankly, I'm sick and tired of my taxes going to crap like this.
Absolutely.
I just went, go get him, girl. I mean, she's cut and dried. Here's what it is. This is the facts, and we're not screwing around.
Yeah.
I love how she told the people when her first meeting there was that, and if we have any lies that are coming out, we're going to squelch it right there, then and there. I will call you out.
Yeah.
And she has.
Yeah.
And you know what? They've slowed down.
They sure did. They sure did. She also announced the other day, and I forgot about this. I didn't put it in our show notes or anything, but she had said that they're going to start rotating these people out to bring in people like Newsmax and News Nation and real journalists.
OAN and some of those.
OANN. Yeah, exactly. They're going to start rotating the CNNs and the MSNBCs out because they're not real news organizations anyway. They're just there to be antagonistic.
Propaganda machine.
Yeah, they're trying to do gotcha stuff, and it's like she doesn't have time for all that. So
she's not having it, and they've it's slowed down severely. If you're going to bring up and have a point of view and make a comment to the effect of something that damn good and well is not right, and what you're saying happened didn't, she's called them out. I've already heard it like 3 times, and it's just really quieted down on that front.
Well, see, the thing is, it's like it used to be the American media was very little opinion and all about, this is what happened, as opposed to what it is today. It's almost all opinion and not about, Fox News is just as bad. I mean, they don't, there are certain segments that will report the news, but a lot of it is opinion. But MSNBC and CNN has taken it on steroids now, and it's like it's just nothing but opinion. And this is our agenda, and we're going to ram it down your throat. So
it's like, no,
it's not working. It's not working.
We're rooting for her all the time, and for being 27 years old and the way she carries herself and her confidence and how bright she is. She is just really a breath of fresh air to really have this come about. So
she's incredible. She's, like you said, for being 27. I mean, I'm a few years past 27. I'm not even close to as smart as she is. I mean, I aspire to be, but I doubt it by now.
I barely knew what to do with my 2 daughters. I didn't have the third one yet. It's like, we got 2. What do I do with it?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's talk a little bit about the plane and Blackhawk helicopter crash from last week. It's a tragic, tragic story. And I got to admit, when Trump first came out and he blamed the air traffic controllers, the pilots, DEI hires and all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking, man, that's some of the most inappropriate stuff I've heard him do. And it's like, man, these bodies haven't even been recovered yet. It just seemed completely wrong. I hated it. But even though the timing isn't the way I would have liked, he did have some good points that have kind of turned out to be
a little closer to the truth is basically what it amounts to.
Absolutely. We did find that there's a nationwide shortage of 3,000 people working in air traffic control, including the tower where this took place. There was supposed to be 30 people working that night, and there was 19. And it wasn't 20 because they sent somebody home earlier that during that shift. There's reasons for that. Oh my gosh. There's an ongoing class action lawsuit. Did you see about this?
No, I haven't seen that.
The FAA has I think there's 1,000 people, qualified white people. Now, I'm not trying to start.
Yes. Yeah. No, I have heard of that. Yeah, go ahead.
They got denied a job at the FAA because their hiring would not have fulfilled their DEI quotas, which I know that they're going to kind of throw out the window eventually. But supposedly they would, there's a class that you can take. I think it's a 2-year type add-on degree where you can learn to be air traffic controller, to be completely qualified to be an air traffic controller. But God help you if you are a white male, especially, then you are at the bottom of the list. I don't care whether you graduated at the top of the class, but they are looking for people of any other demographic. It doesn't seem to matter. And they can't get enough people by doing that because you eliminate a large portion. We are a country of well over half white people. I mean, it's just the way it works. Not that I like it or is promoting this. It's just, it is what
European
it is.
descent, folks.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the way it is.
So you're going to have more white people than any other demographic. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do? I think
And speaking of the FAA, did you see where the one, I believe it was a senator that was talking to the gentleman that was in charge of the FAA? He was asking all these questions. He had no clue. He goes, I'm sorry, I don't know that. I've never flown a plane.
yes.
Aren't you in charge
Well,
of planes
at
flying?
this time, was it? If I'm remembering, I heard that. I think the interview that you're talking about during his confirmation. I think that was during the Biden administration, and when they hired him because he's a black guy, I guess. Unfortunately, but I mean
Had no clue.
Had no clue. He admitted he never worked in the airline industry, never worked as a mechanic, never worked as air traffic controller, never worked in any kind of capacity in the airline industry. So
he was asked about a particular part of a plane and well, I can Google that and look it up.
Oh, God.
Really? No,
I mean,
you're head of the FAA. Jeez, I don't want to depend on Google for flying.
I know. I mean, that's the thing. You don't want to. Well, hang on a second. Let me Google that. Make sure I'm making the right decision. But I mean, I don't care. And this is the way conservatives look at things, like it or not. I don't care what color you are. If he was qualified, so be it. Who cares?
I could care less if he was purple. It don't make no difference to me. But you got somebody in there that's let's hire that guy. Hey, you come here. Want to be the FAA chairman?
Yeah. Well, it's like when Biden first got the nomination, he said he wanted a black female. Well, all of a sudden you've taken the pool of very qualified people and narrowed it down to about 4 at that point, that was in that tier of people in the government that would be qualified to be vice president. And one of them was Kamala, I guess. But I mean, why would you narrow your search just because somebody has more melanin in their skin? I just don't understand.
Well, we heard their voting rules earlier on the DNC search. It's like, what the guy reading them I don't think understood what he was reading. It was ridiculous. But what do you mean, a male, female, and any other sex? Huh? What? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We're going to probably go a little bit long on this segment, but we got a great clip from Rand Paul. Yes. For lack of a better term, a rant by Senator Rand Paul at the RFK.
This is awesome.
It is awesome. At the RFK confirmation hearing. This is right after Louisiana Senator Cassidy, who's a big rhino, grilled RFK about the hepatitis B vaccine. And I learned something about that. I'll let Rand Paul explain it because he's so much better at that. But anyway, he makes some great points, and I wanted to play the whole thing. So here we go.
I think the discussion over vaccines is so oversimplified and dumbed down that we never really get to real truths. And it's why people up here are so separated from real people at home. So we talk about hepatitis B. It's a terrible disease. It could lead to liver failure, as the chairman said. But the reason you have distrust from people at home, why they don't believe anything you say, they don't believe government at all, is you're telling my kid to take a hepatitis B vaccine when he's 1 day old. You get it through drug use and sexually transmitted. That's how you get hepatitis B. But you're telling me my kid has to take it at 1 day old. That's not science. And so every person with a bit of common sense, even people who don't resist vaccines, I vaccinated all my kids. I believe vaccines are one of the modern miracles beyond all pale. The Speckled Monster is a great book about the introduction of the smallpox vaccine in 1720 into our country. All miracles. But I'm not a one-size-fits-all. It's not all or nothing. I chose to wait on my hepatitis B vaccine, and we did it when they went to school. Does that make me an awful person? Does that make me an anti-vaxxer because I questioned the government dictate of whether I do it? And I'm not speaking for anybody else. I'm only speaking for myself. But for goodness sakes, let's have an honest debate about these things. The COVID vaccine. If you ask me my opinion, the reporters run up and down the aisle and they say, you still anti-vaccine? No, I'm pro-vaccine. But on the COVID vaccine and on the COVID illness, there was a 1,000-fold or more difference between the elderly and children. If you don't acknowledge that, you're committing malpractice. You're showing your ignorance. If you say a 6-month-old must be mandated to get it, the science is not there. So all this blather about the science says this and the science says that, no, it doesn't. The science actually shows that no healthy child in America died from COVID. Look it up. No healthy child died from COVID. And so the thing is that it's 1,000-fold greater. So if you ask me my advice as a physician, if you were 65 or older or overweight and some other conditions, I would have said, hell yes, I'd take the COVID vaccine. The risks of the disease were real and much greater than the vaccine. But if you ask me, should my healthy 6-month-old get it? See, these are the nuances you're unwilling to talk about because there's such a belief in submission. Submit to the government. Do what you're told. There is no discussion. There ought to be a debate. You're not going to let him have the debate because you're just going to criticize and say, it is this, and admit to it, or we're not going to appoint you. But it's more complicated than that. And this is why people distrust government, because you're unwilling to have these conversations. And go home, ask your Democrat young mothers, your Republican young mothers, if they're vaccinating their kid for hepatitis B, and they're like, well, do I have to do it on day one? It's this precious little baby. Is there science to say you shouldn't do it? Probably not, but it's my kid. You know, it's like there isn't clear-cut science saying not to. But on autism, there's no good science of anything to show what causes autism. We don't know. It's a profound disease. I know many moms here and dads who have kids with autism. I know them personally. I've met their kids. But the thing is they saw their kids developing completely normal, maybe speaking 100 words go to no words at about 15 months of age. Now, there isn't proof. There isn't proof that the vaccines cause it. That's true. There isn't proof that it causes it. But we don't know what causes it yet. So shouldn't we be at least open-minded? We take 72 vaccines. Could it be? I don't know. But we shouldn't just close the door and say we're no longer, because we believe so much in submission, we're not going to have an open mind to study these things. And so it's sort of this crazy notion. Schizophrenia, I would put in the same notion. You have a kid who's completely normal to 18 or 19, and their brain goes haywire. How does that happen? It's the most bizarre disease. Shouldn't we be open? Could it be our food? It might be vaccines. It might be our food, but autism is more common. I don't know about the schizophrenia statistics, but autism is more common. Shouldn't we want to be open-minded? Instead, we're so close-minded and we're so consensus-driven that the science says this. Well, science doesn't say anything. Science is a dispute, and 10 years from now, we could all be wrong. We were told in the beginning, 20 years ago, they did this enormous study, and they said, everybody over 50 should take an aspirin. I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea. It makes sense. But you know what? 20 years later, they measured it, and they found if you had no heart disease and you were taking aspirin, your chance of dying from a brain bleed or from a stomach bleed were greater than the risk of heart disease. If you have heart disease, they still say take an aspirin. If you don't, they've changed their mind 20 years later. But would you have all said I was crazy and I should no longer be in public discourse if I had said 20 years ago, I don't feel like taking an aspirin. I ride my bike all the time. I'm afraid I might hit my head. But that's what country's about. It's what dissent is about. So just ask you to look at the larger picture and give the guy a break who says, I just want to follow the science where it leads without presupposition. I think really what we have up here is presupposition. You've already concluded. It's absolute that autism isn't caused by it. We don't know what causes autism, so we should be more humble in what we say. Sorry, I didn't get to a question.
Gotta love them. Gotta love them. And they were just nailing RFK because all they did was question. What's wrong with asking a question?
Yeah, it's okay to ask a question, and we've talked before that 99 out of 100 scientists who've been paid agree with whatever they've been paid to say they agree with.
Sponsored
and that's really
Pfizer.
sad, and that's not science.
No.
I was reading that back in my day when I was in school, it was 1 in 10,000 got autism. Now it's 1 in 34.
Right. And RFK actually said when he was a kid, I think he said there was like 7 vaccines, and now there's 72. So I'm like,
yeah, that's ridiculous. Your body can't handle all that, and especially a little tiny baby.
Yeah, and like Rand Paul said, we ought to have the lack of hubris to go. We have no idea. I mean, let's see if we can find out what's causing it. I do think it's a combination. I think with our food, all these dyes and all this kind of stuff that we allow into our food as Americans, hopefully that's going to all go away. But they don't even do that in Canada. You look at the ingredients list on a bag of chips in Canada, it's different, way different than it is here. So,
what did we start buying? We like the prepackaged because it keeps me from eating a half a big bag of potato chips. But it's Miss Vicky's.
Yes.
You look at it, and it's potato chips, what it was fried in, and some sea salt.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else in it.
I buy the smaller bags of the Miss Vicky's salt and vinegar. I do the same thing because
I like that one. That's a good one.
If you have a sandwich,
but yeah, it's just there's nothing in it except for potatoes, a little salt, and the oil it's cooked in.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And the oil it's cooked in, the hydrogenated stuff. Yeah, I mean, but you can't get away from that. You just got to limit your intake of it. And
it's called moderation, people.
But again, asking questions is not a bad thing. Don't let people tell you you're anti-vaxxer or you're an election denier just because you question. Is like, well, none of this makes sense. How did Biden get 81 million votes and nobody's come close to 81 million votes in the history of the country?
Yeah.
So I mean,
and the stuff where scientists are paid. Well, I think it is a Bill Gates deal that put out Jillian Michaels. Do you remember her?
Right. Absolutely.
Was talking about 17,000 doctors are all against Kennedy, and he shouldn't be confirmed. And then she goes, and I looked on there, and I've signed it twice as Dr. BS, Dr. Fake.
Yeah.
Anybody could put their name on it.
Yeah.
And say it's Dr. So-and-so. It was so just, again, garbage from the left.
Yep. And you got to wonder who signed her name to it because obviously she had no idea.
Oh, she said she did it.
Oh, she did
put it in.
Okay.
Yeah, when it came around before, she goes, well, let me sign it. You can sign it as many times as you want. She had two different names, Dr. BS and Dr.
Well, as it stands now, she's not necessarily against RFK. So, I mean, I guess when she read it.
Yeah, she's not, but it's look, this is not the way to do it.
No.
It's a smear campaign, and the Democrats are doing what they've always done, and they're going to have to stop one of these days. They're not going to have a party left.
I think it's getting that way right now. So,
yeah, it's pretty darn close. Oh, gee, that hurts my feelings. Anyhow.
Hey, we're up against the break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the parties over in Europe and how they're starting to change their direction. Not that party. Okay. That's in October. Actually, it's in September. It's Oktoberfest. But anyway, way off base. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. More of the Stay Off My Lawn podcast is coming up.
With more ways than ever to connect to news and entertainment, 90% of new car buyers want that tried and true AM/FM radio option. That's because your local radio stations are reliable, trustworthy, and bring you a local connection that can't be replicated. Not to mention, it's free. No subscription or cellular data required. More than 80 million Americans each month depend on AM for their news, weather, local sports and entertainment, plus talk radio. Help keep AM radio an option in new cars. Text AM to 52886. You'll get an auto-filled email letter to send to Congress urging them to keep AM radio in cars. Again, text AM to 52886. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3. Amanda's going by fast.
Gee, many Christmas.
A couple of years ago, Italy.
Was that better?
It was much better, yes. Italy elected Giorgia Meloni, which you gotta love this lady. She is just so smart, and there's been a lot of elections of the female version of the human that is just so much better than any of the male versions of the human that we have put out here in the U.S. Anyway. But she's known for her conservative stances, similar to Trump's, to fix some of the destructive leftist policies that from their recent past. Germany and most of Europe is starting to see the problem being so far left, and they're looking for alternatives. And as a matter of fact, one of the parties over there is called Alternative for Deutschland, and it's being run by a lady named Alice Weidel. She is candidate for chancellor over there. They said alternative. It started out while Angela Merkel was chancellor over there, and she was just such a wacky person. But anyway, Alice had given a speech the other day, and here she is.
Wir haben die Antworten. Wir haben einen Plan. Wir haben einen Zukunftsplan für Deutschland, den wir in den ersten 100 Tagen
All right, you ignorant people. If you don't understand German, I don't either. But anyway.
This is what she's saying. So you will understand when you go to vote. This is what you need to know.
Yeah, the rough translation is that she has vowed within 100 days that she will seal Germany's borders, slash the asylum seekers' subsidies, and initiate an unprecedented mass remigration, or we might call it deportation here in America.
Remigration? Okay, I love that term.
That's what the translation said. So yeah, she's sounds a lot like Trump to me.
Yeah, they're having the same problems over there. These people come in, they come from these crap hole third world countries that they're just they have no rules of law. They don't care about people or anything. And then they want to fly their flags and do their marches and stuff. Then go back to the country that flag has on it. Sure.
And where they're dealing with a lot of the Syrian refugees, and plus from even back from, has it been 15 years when they had the Arab Spring? There was a lot of things, a lot of people left during that time. And so really a lot of Europe, a lot of the big cities anyway, is so filled with Middle Easterners. And first of all, I mean, us being Americans, if I was going to move to another country, the last thing I would do is go to somewhere where their ideology is completely the opposite of mine. I don't understand why somebody from the Middle East would want to go to a capitalist country, white capitalist country. I just don't understand.
I know. The Muslim thing says their indoctrination is we're going to take over the world.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to do. It's not working so good at the moment.
The only logical explanation to me. But like when we spoke with Mike Mendoza a couple of weeks ago, the conservative movement is really catching fire in the UK as well. Here's a member of parliament, a guy I've not heard of before, but his name is Rupert Lowe. He's one of the Reform UK people over there. He's the Reform Party. This guy lives in Essex, which I guess is a kind of a conservative area. But anyway, here's part of his speech he gave recently.
What a pleasure it is to be here this evening with so many like-minded patriots in northwest Essex on the 5th anniversary of Brexit. I can assure you my recent contributions in Westminster have been in front of far less welcoming crowds. I hope to finally finish a speech without being warned over my tone by a belly-aching socialist. Let's see. Essex is a good place, filled with good people. The Essex man. A fine blend of Roman settlers and the Catavalorni. A personification of common sense and British logic. He believes in strong borders, low tax and rewarding hard work. He's passionate about his country. He intensely dislikes wokery and all the associated tripe. I say the country would be in a much better place with more Essex men in charge.
I'm going to try to incorporate wokery in my daily.
I like how he's insulting everyone. Listen, all you idiots out there who are doing this, it's absolutely buffoonery. I mean, it's such a nice way of saying you morons.
Yes, I mean he could have gone down this road.
What a maroon! What an ignoramus!
I mean,
yes, those people.
You could have gone down.
My hero. Yeah, I love Maroons is a much better term. I use it all the time. Okay.
And the U.S. is starting to look so much better, too. There was a couple of great moments from the Senate confirmation hearings. Here's RFK Jr. and millionaire with 3 houses communist Bernie Sanders. I mean,
is that his title now? 3 houses communist?
That's the way I call him. That's how I refer to him. But if you're a true communist, why would you own 3 houses? I mean, it seems like you should give them to the poor.
Because it's the ruling class. So he's doing what the ruling class of communism. They have all the goods, and you little peons down below, we'll give you scraps when we feel like it.
Anyway, this is an exchange with him and RFK Jr., and I bet old Bernie wishes he stayed in bed at the nursing home this morning. So here it is.
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? It's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, The problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies, it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh,
and protecting their interests.
Oh,
He hit a soft spot
I
there.
thought that would no. I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were the single largest
because I had
receiver of pharmaceutical money
contributions from workers all over this country. Workers,
you were the
not a nickel from corporate PACs.
You were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but
presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, brought to you by Pfizer.
But that's their tactic, though.
And he can say that, but it's all these little shell companies that the money is going from the pharmaceutical to these little shell companies going
washed.
to they're trying to hide it. And I'm sorry, we know where the rules and how you've got to follow stuff. And he can bow his neck all he wants, but he's full of it. Right up to his depends.
You sure? And I bet they're full.
I think they're called depend now. They think they took the S off.
Well, the S means something else, probably. But yeah, I mean,
the S is what he's full of.
Exactly. But that's their tactic, though. It's like to talk over when somebody's making a good point or a point you don't want to be made. You talk over them and you try to it just kills me. It just kills me. It didn't work. It didn't work because even
no, he is the socialist. All you guys need to have is you got a house that you're paying rent on. It's fine. I have 3 homes. You don't need that many.
You don't need that. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Don't tell me to do something that you're doing because it's good for you, but not wrong.
Get in line for the cheese and bread and shut up. Kash Patel got a bunch of heat too. He handled it extremely well. I mean, I had not heard him very much prior to all this, but he has impressed me.
He's extremely bright. I've heard him on a few other podcasts, and wow, stuff that just comes out. And there's no notes. There's no note paper. Oh, let me see. I need to talk about. No, he's extremely bright. They don't like all of what's up here.
No, exactly. I mean, because they're so intimidated intellectually. And they should be because he's smarter than a lot of them. But when Senator Kennedy, when they got to him, he had a little bit of fun with Kash over all this. So,
you've made a lot of people mad, haven't you, Mr. Patel?
Seems so, Senator.
You think maybe you made the right people mad?
As my FBI agents, the BRIC agents told me when I was running cases with them across this country and around the world, if you're not ticking off some people, you're not doing your job right.
My colleague and friend, Senator Durbin, called you a conspiracy theorist. You remember that?
I do, Senator.
You were instrumental in revealing that the Trump-Russia election collusion hoax was a hoax, weren't you?
Yes, sir. I was a lead investigator.
Sounds to me like we need to get some new conspiracy theories because all the old ones turned out to be true.
Facts matter, Senator.
Yeah. I mean, conspiracy theorists are up something like 37-0.
Oh, I love that guy. Gosh.
Oh, he is our favorite. Anytime we can find a good clip from him, we like to share him. Senator Kennedy is just good old common sense, down to earth. Is it a Senator Mace? I think it is. It's
Nancy Mace,
the
from
farmer.
South
No,
Carolina?
not Nancy Mace. It's something like that. I can't think of it, but he's a farmer, and he's just.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But if I could pick a senator to sit down and have coffee with, it would be Senator Kennedy. By far.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Love it.
God, he just has so much common sense and so much regular regular people thinking. I love it. Tulsi Gabbard, who is up for Director of National Intelligence, gave a scathing opening statement last week as well. It's really good. Here we go.
The FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this must end.
Boy, she's good. She's good. I still think she would have been a great vice president. Not that J.D. Vance isn't any good, but I just love her.
Good. We've got a bunch of young conservatives coming through, if you will, the pipeline that I think the party's in pretty good. It's not just, well, we've got one or two, and when he's gone, well, then what? Oh, yeah. Well, we've got a bench. Some that, no doubt. We've got a very strong bench at the moment. Absolutely. And they need to put her through. And these rhinos that are puffing their chest out going, well, okay, get over it.
Right.
Vote them through, because you won't be in Congress very much longer.
And in 2 years, try to remember to go to the primaries and get those rhinos out. Make sure, encourage whoever's thinking about running against them, encourage them if they've got the same kind of conservative values you do. We need to purge the whole Senate and Congress and get people out of there
we know who the rhinos are. Yeah. I mean, I was telling you off the air that they were trying to do, and I can't think of the remember of it, but anyhow, it's a silent vote where you vote. It's not attached to anybody. Yeah. It just, here's the vote. There's so many yay, so many nay. That's it.
That reeks of corruption to me. So
yeah. And it's like, cause they don't want their names attached to not voting her through. And it's only for Gabbards. And it's like, why are you wanting to change it for one nominee? Because you're going to brought to you by Pfizer voters are, it's not going well.
She hasn't really changed her opinion since she ran for president back in 2020.
Right.
She's pretty much the same person.
Very consistent.
So, I mean, I think the Democrats hate her, not because they don't agree with her. I think deep down inside, they do agree with most of what she's saying, because what she's saying really shouldn't be a political thing. As far as securing the border, that shouldn't be a political thing. Allowing people to make their own choices for things. I mean, none of that is super political. They see her and RFK Jr. as turncoats. They just, and that's what they're mad about. Anyway, okay. We're up against a break. When we come back, I'm so excited about this. We're going to talk about a movie that has come out that nobody's really seen, but it's got a lot of Oscar nominations. You're going to be excited, just like me. So
I just don't think so.
I get so excited with this stuff. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
If you're in our demographic, it might be a good time to go and pee. We'll be right back in just a minute.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And no one does tough like Ford. Take the new F-250 XL with best-in-class horsepower, best-in-class towing capacity, a rugged design frame, and an impressive V8 diesel engine. If you're going somewhere tough, count on Ford to get you there. We're going to figure this out yet. We're professionals.
Speak for yourself. Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn. Segment 4. We are on the last one, and we have saved the best for last, no doubt. Do you watch the Oscars, the Grammys, the Emmys?
You know, I used to watch a lot of the award shows. My youngest daughter and I would watch the pageant award things and make little catty remarks about different stuff. And it used to be a lot of fun. I can't stomach them anymore. And it's really sad because being a theater person, I mean, I like watching that, but all they do is get up there and blah, 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 and we're on the left and right arm gravy, dude. We're, you know, who cares? I just don't, I'm tired of hearing it. So is America. Their ratings are in the toilet for those shows, have dropped like several million over the last 10 years.
Well, even the voiceover people, I mean, they have these awards things for them, and it's like this self-congratulatory attitude that so many people have in any kind of entertainment portion of the industry. It's like, I just don't have any patience for that. It's like, it's just all this self-promotion. I don't know. I just...
And some of those award things, especially for voiceover, you pay a lot of money just to be considered, and you don't get that money back. It's so that you can be nominated.
Right.
What? No, I'm not paying to play. We looked into that for, what was it, a podcast thing, and they wanted, they're going to have some award things. Oh, and you can fill out. Okay, let's submit. We had a couple good segments.
Yeah.
Oh, you want $2,500? Yeah, no.
It's incredible. And just so you can have that self-congratulatory attitude. I just don't, it's not my thing. I hate people who are just so full of themselves, and I don't hate people. You know what I mean? I can't stand that attitude with people. I have no patience for anyone.
I want to thank all the little people, that's mainly me, who's been so wonderful.
And I want world peace, and I hate Donald Trump. Orange man bad. I mean, whatever.
Nobody's listening to him, and nobody's going to the movies. And speaking of which, boy, do you got a good one for us.
Have you ever heard of the movie Amelia Perez?
Unfortunately, I heard a little bit. I read enough about it. I think it was 2 paragraphs, and I went, "Oh hell no!" I didn't even want to read any more about it. It was so bad.
I heard this on another radio show, and it was kind of like I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. But it's been nominated for the second most Oscars in motion picture history, and is up for Best Picture. Nobody's ever heard of this thing. I have not seen it. I don't think that now that I know more about it, I certainly don't want to see it. It's got a 24 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not a great score.
That's just enough to say it exists.
Exactly. The best part is it stars a trans person. And this is this trans person is the first dude to get an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. And this is something they're promoting. A guy getting Best Actress. I mean, that would
not how good the actor, actress / whatever the hell it is, you know, they, them as now was, were. So
that's exactly right.
It's just absolutely. Are they touting? Oh, and the acting was so good in the storyline. No, that's not what you're hearing anything about this.
No, it's it's about a Mexican drug lord that longs to be a woman. And of course, turns out
that happens a lot with Mexican drug lords.
Yeah, exactly. It's a French film made for the Mexican audience, and the Mexicans hated it. I mean, it's really not gotten any traction there either. But it just doesn't get a whole lot better than what we've already described. But it's a musical.
Oh, God, on top of all that, it's a musical. Because we know drug lords do nothing but song and dance all the time.
Exactly. It's Sound of Music and being in your drug cartel. But this is part of the singing. Now, I don't know whether this has been put up for Best Song. I would imagine. But here's a portion of that.
Hello, very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operation.
I see. Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina. Is it for you?
For me?
What? What would you like to know about it, madam?
I want to know it all. What is the protocol, the techniques and the risks? How many operations? How much time do you need?
Mammoplasty.
Yes.
Vaginoplasty.
Yes.
Rhinoplasty.
Yes.
Laryngoplasty.
Yes.
Mammoplasty.
Yes.
Vaginoplasty.
Yes.
Rhinoplasty.
Yes.
Laryngoplasty.
Yes.
Control laryngoplasty.
What is that?
Adam's apple reduction.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh my goodness. That was, you would think that that was a South Park parody. You can't even parody this and make it more funny.
No, it sounds like a bad high school skit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that little piece of acting, if that's the best that they're putting out for, hey, here's what we've done. Here's a little segment. Oh my God, that was terrible.
Again, this is the second most Oscar-nominated film in history. Wow.
Wasn't that something like 12 nominations or some such crap?
I didn't even see the number. I just know that it's the second most. I don't even know what the number one is, but it's Hollywood congratulating themselves again, patting themselves on the back.
Pushing their narrative because they think that's
exactly.
important. And then we don't understand why folks that used to invest in movies so that they could be made and producers, as it were, here's, $50 million for this movie. Here's $200 million for this movie, whatever it is. They're having trouble finding investors because they're all flippy floppies, if you will.
Yeah.
They suck big time.
Not making any money. And it's got to be embarrassing to have your name tied to it, I would think.
Well, Disney's a perfect example. Their movies have just blown and they cost millions of dollars. They're in the hole something like 10 billion or something. It's ridiculous. They've had flop after flop because they've all been pushing a narrative.
Mm-hmm. And supposedly they're changing their ways, but I'll believe it when I see it.
When the current board is all gone, then we'll talk about it. But as long as Igor is there with his humpets on the wrong side. I don't know. What up? Yeah, anyway.
Igor. It's Igor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's over the top wokeness. Again, the critics poll who work for Hollywood and are part of the system, it's called the tomato meter, shows 74% positive, which is actually very good. But the popcorn meter, according to the Rotten Tomatoes, the actual movie viewers is 19% positive.
Oh, geez.
So that tells you the disparity between the people who are getting paid by the industry.
Who's been paid to criticize it and who paid to go suffer through what little they suffered through.
And wishes they could get their money back, apparently. I think in the radio show I was listening to was talking about this. So you ought to have a drinking game for the Oscars. Whenever they use the word, how brave, you should have to take a shot. But then again, it would probably kill too many conservatives by taking a shot that often.
You wouldn't make it through the first segment.
I'd like to see what the gambling markets have to say of how often they're going to use the word brave throughout the whole thing. Oh my gosh. It's just so bad.
Do we have anything that's going to clean our palate? That is disgusting.
We do have a palate cleanser. This is a skit from Hee Haw. Richard and I were talking about Hee Haw last week, and I don't remember whether it was on the air or off the air, but it was, my phone was listening because all of a sudden I got Hee Haw clips that I'd never seen before on Facebook.
And I sent you this one too.
Then you sent me this one, yes. This is Roy Clark and Archie Campbell's Barbershop, and you're going to love how this turns out. Here we go.
Arch, you know that youngest boy of mine.
Yeah, old Bolivar, the 5-year-old?
Yeah, well, he will be 5 come February.
Yeah.
You know that I can't get him to go to bed at night for nothing.
Is that right?
He'll just sit up half the night.
What do you got to tell him bedtime stories?
I've tried every one I ever heard.
Yeah, but you're telling the same old bedtime stories, just like we used to enjoy.
Well?
You can't do that. You got to take these same stories and tell them backwards or you can't get the kids' attention.
Tell them backwards?
Yeah. Like, for example, instead of Cinderella, you say Rendercella. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll tell you the story of Cinderella. You learn this, and then you tell it to your kid, all right?
All right.
All right. Once upon a time, in a corn country, there lived a beautiful girl, and her name was Rendercella. Now, Rendersella lived with her mugly other and 2 sad blisters. Also, in this same corn country, there was a very pransome hince. Now, this pransome hince was going to have a fancy fall, and he invited the people for riles a mouth, especially the pitch reaper. That's the only ones to invite. Now, Rendersella's mugly other and her 2 sad blisters, they went out to buy some drancy fesses, you know, to wear to this fancy fall. But Rendersella couldn't go because all she had to wear was some old rurty dags. So finally, the night of the fancy fall arrived, and Rendersella couldn't go, so she just cat down and shried.
She cat down and shried.
Yeah, right down there and shried. And she was kitting there shried, when all at once there appeared before her Gary Mudfather. And he touched her with his wagic man. And there appeared before her a keg, boach, and Hicks white saucers, you know, to take her to the fancy fall. But he said, now, Rendersella, you be sure and be home before midnight, or I'll turn you into a tumpkin. So when Rendersella arrived at the fancy fall, this pransome hince met her at the door because he'd been watching all this time behind a wooden hinder. And Rendersella and the pransome hince danced all night. And they lell and fuzz. And all at once the mid-clock struck night. And Rendersella staced down the rars, and just as she beats the rottum, she slopped her dripper.
She slopped her dripper?
Yes, sir. So the next day, this pransome hince went all over this corn country looking for the beautiful girl who had slopped her dripper. Finally, he came to Rendersella's house. Well, he tried it on her mugly other, and it fit and did. Then he tried it on her 2 siggly usters, and it fit and did. Then he tried it on Rendersella, and it fit and did. It was exactly the sight right. So they got married and lived heavily after happily. Now, Roy, the story of the more is this. If you go to a fancy fall and you want to have a pransome hince loll and fub with you, don't forget to slop your dripper.
Oh, we've heard it before. We're still sitting here just roaring, trying not to be loud.
It's just so good. How he got through that, I have no idea. And he didn't make a mistake. It was everything.
No, it's just all went through.
Slop your dripper, and then that would have been enough for me.
Ugly, but okay, yeah.
Oh, we needed that. We needed that.
Well, we hope that you laughed as much as we did
That's
at it,
right.
folks.
We hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did, especially here at the end. And don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, Rumble every week now, and wherever you get your podcasts otherwise.
And you can also find us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com. Enjoy us on the drive home, or you can get the apps. Apple and Android are now available. Or, you know what? Just go to our website at stayoffmylawn.us for all our past and present episodes.
And don't forget, if you want to slop your dripper, you better make sure you're at the Dancy Fall. So, all right, you have a good week. We'll see you then.
Toodles, thanks so much for listening, folks. We appreciate y'all. Bye. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.